I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place this first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army Strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for point of view.
All right, it's Jessie. How y'all doing out there today? Oh yes, I've missed you since we've been off the air. Boy, oh boy. Unless you live under a rock, and I'd like to think my listeners don't, but if you do, North Korea is at it again, aka the lunatic in the north. Yes, North Korea launched a missile over the weekend. Now, I gotta mention this because I know we'll often hear about Iran launched a missile, North Korea launched a missile. What you don't realize is when North Korea launches a missile, and that's what the media reports, it was one. When the media reports Iran launched a missile, I strongly suspect they're actually launching more than one. I can't prove this, but I've heard reports that that's the way it goes, folks. That's the way that cookie tends to crumble. Alright, I've got a special announcement, and then I will get on with get on with the rest of the stories. Alright, this Saturday Slowdown will be live. What? I'm doing a live Saturday Slowdown? Yep. And I'm gonna have a guest. I'm gonna have a guest on live. Now, I often have Justin Kinney. Nope, he's not my guest this time. I'm gonna have Dmitry Nosorov, who grew up in communist Russia / the USSR. So, in response to that, we're going to be discussing his memories, his childhood, his time in the quote-unquote Red Army. If you have questions you want me to ask Dimitri, email me at Jessie's POV at KLRNRadio. You can also catch me on Twitter at Jessie's POV. That way I can see about including your question on the air on Saturday. Now, 2 more pieces of quote-unquote housekeeping to take care of before we get on with the show, so to speak. You haven't entered to win Station Manager Ann's coffee mug, have you? Well, we only got a couple more to give away. Some of them have already been spoken for. So I'm going to suggest and strongly encourage and do everything except badger you to get on over to KLRN Radio and click on the What's New tab, which brings you to the newsletter. Yeah. And then there's a picture of the mug that's being given away. And then all you gotta do, go to the contact form, and in the message you can type, I want the mug. And we'll have to wait and see. Now we're going to be giving a couple more mugs away live on the air. Who knows, maybe I'll open up the phone lines sneakily on Saturday and give away one. You'll have to tune in and find out. I'm not saying I will, I'm not saying I won't. I'm saying anything is possible. Alright, folks. Yep, show prep. Before I get on with that, I almost forgot. I don't know how I could forget this, but I almost forgot. Scott Harvath. Yes. This is your year. And if you're a regular listener to the show, you already know all about Scott Harvath. For those of you who are new, those of you that are new, Scott Harvath, and he says he's a stubborn son of a gun. I'm rephrasing it just a little bit. He is a retired NYPD sergeant and 9/11 first responder, and he is battling, and battling strong I might add, stage 4 esophageal cancer. Now I'm trying to get him to come on the show and talk about where he gets his strength and everything from. But as you can imagine, battling esophageal cancer takes a lot out of you. So do me a favor, show him support, follow him on Twitter, shoot him a message at Scott Harvath. And his Twitter handle is SCOTTHARVATH. We're also working on, and I know Station Manager Ann's been trying to get this done. She's been fighting hard to work on it. A special Scott Harvath page on our website where you can actually just go to the website and leave him a message. So if you're not on Twitter, you will be able to still leave him a message of support. Alright. I think that's all the housekeeping. 15 minutes in and I finally get down to the news of the day. On the military side, there's not much except to say the Undersecretary of the VA has been confirmed by the Senate. And the interesting thing I found on defense.gov, and you know I'm usually all over that, is that the military commission trial against Khalid Sheikh Mohammed will be moving forward. The reason I know this is that they put out a call to media who would like to cover it. And it looks like the trial will be moving forward in March between the 20th and the 31st. Also on the military side, Secretary Mattis is at NATO embarking on a trip to NATO headquarters. And he will attend the NATO Defense Ministerial and Munich Security Conference. He will begin his trip in Brussels, Belgium, where he meet counterparts from NATO nations and separately host a meeting of ministers from the counter-ISIS coalition. On February 17th, Secretary Mattis will attend the Munich Security Conference, where he will have a series of meetings with key international counterparts. And the trip will underscore the commitment of the United States to our NATO alliance and defeating Daesh. There's not a whole lot in the military side today, but I do like to at least mention the little tidbits I get. Sometimes those people are the best at keeping their mouths shut. What can I say? Alright, let's get on with North Korea. I'm going to start with the fact that North Korea launched a missile. Now, experts say it was a Musudan or variant thereof. And we've been expecting something from them. We have. Now, they promised an ICBM, but it hasn't happened. Thank God. And just to refresh your mind, remember Iran just recently tested missiles? Alright. We're going to back up. Trust me, I'm connecting dots for you. January 29th, Iran tested a new ballistic missile it dubbed the KLRNRadio, which reportedly flew about 1,000 kilometers. So that's nothing to sneeze at. Now, what makes this interesting is, remember, North Korea and Iran cooperate on missile technology. And now, the KLRNRadio relies on a liquid fuel engine originally developed by the ISEV Design Bureau for the Soviet R-27 submarine-launched ballistic missile, which makes it a variant of the North Korean Musudan, which is an intermediate-range ballistic missile. Oh yeah. So the ramifications of this are huge. They're absolutely huge. And there's some speculation that Iran is going to that North Korea exported the R-27 engine to Iran. Yeah, that, like I said, they're in bed together on missiles, at least. And of course, who's North Korea's big brother? China. Who's Iran's big brother, for lack of a term? Russia. So, and just to remind you, the Shab-3 medium-range ballistic missile is based on the North Korea's Nodang missile. Oh yeah, and this weapon has a range of 950 kilometers. I don't have the translations, you'll have to do the math on that one yourself. But, given that 250 kilometers is 310 miles, or given it, oh, hang on, let me just get a calculator up here. Alright, so we said 950 kilometers. That's 590 miles, folks. And the recent 1,000 kilometers is 621 miles. And, like I said, it's one of those things that the Shab-3, called the Gadar, delivers a 750 kilogram payload, but it can travel roughly 1,600 kilometers, and according to the quick calculations, that's 994 miles. That's almost 1,000 miles, folks. Now, of course, the usual suspects put out the usual statements. Okay? I could have written half these statements for them before this even happened. But I am going to do what I feel is my due diligence and pull up President Trump and Prime Minister Abe's joint statement that came out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the Joint Congressional Committee for
give me a minute. Talking YouTube channel. Alright, Shinzo Abe and President Trump gave a joint statement shortly after the missile launch, and I am going to play that for you in whole. So bear with me, but I do feel it is important to give you that particular piece of audio.
北朝鮮のミサイル発射は断じて 容認できません。
North Korea's most recent missile launch is absolutely intolerable.
北朝鮮は国連決議を完全に遵守すべきです。
North Korea must fully comply with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions.
先ほどトランプ大統領との首脳会談の中において、米国は常に 100% 日本と共にあるということを明言されました。そしてその意思を示すために今私の隣に立っておられます。
During the summit meeting that I had with President Trump, he assured me that the United States will always with Japan 100%. And to demonstrate his determination as well as commitment, he is now here with me at this joint press conference.
私とトランプ大統領は日米同盟をさらに緊密化し、そして強化していくことで完全に一致をいたしました。
President Trump and I myself completely share the view that we are going to promote further collaboration between the two nations, and also we are going to further reinforce our alliance.
私からは以上です。
That is from myself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. I just want everybody to understand and fully know that the United States of America stands behind Japan, its great ally, 100%. Thank you.
Okay, like I said, it was a brief statement. That's why I wanted to air it in full. Pardon the fact that I didn't grab it in advance and weed out the Japanese, but it was only a couple minutes, folks. You can put up with anything for a short period of time. Alright, when we come back, we are going to get through the articles and have more statements. But before we go to the bottom of the hour break, I do have the very predictable UN reaction to the North Korean rocket launch.
The Secretary General strongly condemns the launch of another ballistic missile by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea on the 12th of February. This action is a further troubling violation of Security Council resolutions. The DPRK leadership must return to full compliance with its international obligations and to the path of denuclearization. The Secretary General appeals to the international community to continue to address this situation in a united manner.
And no, I didn't speed it up. That was the Donald Duck version of a UN press conference. I never speed these things up. I've done it once to little effect. So, like I said, you have to keep in mind all these international pieces. And when we come back, we are going to get into some of the discussion on North Korea because there's a lot to cover there, believe it or not. There is a lot. Alright, I'm a couple minutes early. But I want another minute or two to pull together that last audio clip for North Korea. So we're going to take our commercial break just a wee bit early. Gotta pay them bills and keep those advertisers happy, folks. Alright, I will see you on the other side. And for those of you wondering, yes, I am hanging out in the KLRN radio chat room. Now, I just got there, so if you popped by at the top of the hour and I was missing, you know why. I just got over there. And guess what? You can hear the show and react with me live while I'm on the air. So, alright, I will see you guys on the other side of this commercial break.
these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from the critique of the short story through to line edits on full-length novels. We also offer assistance on generating writers' bios for your websites. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-757-2782. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-757-2782. That's 877-757-2782.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Thank you for hanging in there with me over the commercial break. All right, I promised you North Korea. And yes, we are going there. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, yes, there is some other forces at play in the world. All right, I'm going to start off with the fact that China blames the United States and South Korea for the North Korea missile launch. That's what their news people put out. China is, now keep in mind, China is a permanent member of the UN Security Council. And they have, that means, what's that mean? That means they have veto power. If one permanent member vetoes a UN Security Council resolution, it's dead. And remember, China doesn't want us to put THAAD on the South Korean peninsula because they feel it's going to spy on them. Now, of course, China is saying, oh, well, just sit down and talk to North Korea. They'll be better. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I do not believe that sitting down and talking with North Korea is the solution. So, China opposed the launch, which did violate the UN Security Council resolution. I don't have the resolution number, but there have been so many on North Korea. I think it was 2130 something. The root cause of North Korean nuclear missile issue is the differences with the US and South Korea. And this is from Geng, which is the UN representative of China's UN representative to the Security Council. Although generally dismissive of sanctions, Beijing has signed on to successive rounds under the UN Security Council and last month banned more items from being exported to North Korea, including plutonium and dual-use technologies. Now, I found this interesting because to me it means one of two things. Either North Korea already has all the dual-use technology stuff they need and the plutonium they need, or it's going in via the black market. Now, I've got an interesting audio clip, and this was from a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing about North Korea and Beijing. Let's take a quick listen.
While China's cooperation is necessary to place needed pressure on North Korea, we must also recognize that North Korea lives in the space created by Sino-U.S. strategic mistrust. This means that China's inadequate enforcement of sanctions will never meet U.S. expectations due to differing American and Chinese strategic interests on the peninsula. An unintended consequence is that North Korea's supply chain has become embedded in illicit Chinese procurement networks. While continuing to pressure China to enforce sanctions, the United States will have to use secondary sanctions on Chinese partners of North Korea if it hopes to stop North Korea's nuclear and missile parts procurement.
Okay, I found that very interesting. Why? Because that means we're going to have to start trying to sanction China. That's a big dog to be sanctioning. UN sanctions and international sanctions are nothing to be sneezed at. Now, why was this particular missile test such a big deal? Well, alright, let's start with the obvious. It was the first one since the inauguration. I think everybody's figured that out now. Look at your calendar. Alright. Then there's other reasons why this could be significant. Sunday's launch also is drawing intense scrutiny because North Korea claims to have used a solid fuel. That's huge. Solid fuel. Because why? Okay. Liquid fuel, they have to be fueled on a fixed launch pad. If you've got solid fuel, you can drive the missile anywhere and fire them from mobile launchers. Oh yeah. The fuel in solid fuel rockets is already loaded inside and can shorten launch preparation times, increase the weapon's mobility, and make it harder for outsiders to detect what's happening. Most of North Korea's missiles currently use liquid fuel, which needs to be added on a launch pad before the weapon is fired. And the rockets used for North Korea for what alleged satellite launches, which of course everybody, the usual round of suspects said the usual condemnations, relied on liquid fuel. Liquid fuel is old technology, folks. We're talking 60s and 70s. Before Sunday's test, analysts thought North Korea's solid fuel weapons were limited to a submarine-launched ballistic missile that the country test-fired last August, and the short-range KN-02 missiles. The latest test is important because, if confirmed, North Korea would have a missile that could be launched anywhere in the country from a ground-based mobile vehicle. While submarines are also stealthy, North Korea doesn't have that many subs, folks. Now, there are doubts that the KN-02, whose range is about 75 miles, can carry, or 120 kilometers, can carry nuclear warheads. Now, no one can independently confirm this claim. You'd have to call up Pyongyang, and they're not talking. But experts who analyze the photographs say it appears it was a solid fuel launch. North Korean media quoted Kim Jong-un as saying the North Korean rocket industry has radically turned from liquid fuel engines to high-thrust solid power ones. The North Korean media, now remember I'm quoting North Korea here, so shaker of salt, grain of salt, salt mine, however much salt you need to handle this. North Korean state media said the missile launch Sunday was a surface-to-surface Pugusang-2 that can carry nuclear warheads. It's likely an upgraded version of the submarine-launched Pugusang. And I'm saying that. South Korea's military said the latest missile flew about 500 kilometers, or 310 miles, before crashing into international waters. Now, the missile did make a high-altitude flight, which is a concern for neighboring countries. If the missile was followed at a normal angle, it could have flown further. So, analysts are saying it could be up to a 3,000 kilometer range, or approximately 1,870 miles. Either way, the missile could definitely target South Korea and Japan. You combine those two countries, we got 80,000 U.S. troops, folks. North Korea's ultimate goal is the nuclear-tipped ICBM that can attack the U.S. mainland. While Sunday's missile test isn't directly linked to ICBM preparations, it may have I'm still thinking there was some part of ICBM technology, be it the fuel, or some little part that was being tested in that launch. Now, analysts are divided as to whether North Korea has developed warheads small enough to be loaded on a long-range missile. But do we really want to wait and find out when it goes boom? Why did North Korea fire the missile? Who knows? Celebrate the February 16th birthday of Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's late father, testing Trump, or it's a date they already had circled on their calendar and weren't telling us. It could be an attempt to bolster internal unity. It could be any reason or no reason. I can't get inside the head of Kim Jong-un. Now, I do think we need a new strategy for dealing with North Korea. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, folks, I don't think we're going to be able to talk North Korea out of their nuclear weapons. Don't take my word for it. Got a couple audio clips from a recent Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing discussing North Korea.
Seeing the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, for what it is rather than what we would like it to be, obliges us to recognize two highly unpleasant truths. First, The real existing North Korean leadership, as opposed to the imaginary version that some Westerners would like us to negotiate with, will never willingly give up their nuclear option. Acquiescing in denuclearization would be tantamount to abandoning its mission of Korean reunification, which is to say, disavowing the DPRK's very raison d'etre. Second, international entreaties can never succeed in convincing the DPRK to relinquish its nuclear weapons program. Sovereign governments simply do not trade away their vital national interests.
All right, so if sovereign governments do not trade away vital national interests, North Korea won't ever be badgered, bullied, or brought to a negotiating situation where they will willingly give up nuclear power. All right, a couple more audio clips on this vein.
In my statement, I argued that the window of opportunity to achieve North Korea's peaceful denuclearization may have closed, and that Kim Jong-un has decided, based on lessons from Iran, Iraq, and Libya, that North Korea must be too nuclear to fail. Moreover, he intends to threaten the United States with a direct nuclear strike capability, a development that would heighten the risk and likelihood of military conflict.
That's right, folks. Kim Jong-un wants to be able to launch a missile, an ICBM, that's what it would take, from his little hermit kingdom in North Korea to the U.S. mainland. That is unacceptable by any calculus. Alright, I've got one more audio clip from this conference, then we're going to continue our discussion on North Korea, and for the last few minutes of the show, move on to other topics.
While China's cooperation is necessary to place needed pressure on North Korea, we must also recognize that North Korea lives in the space created by Sino-U.S. strategic mistrust. This means that China's inadequate enforcement of sanctions will never meet U.S. expectations due to differing American and Chinese strategic interests on the peninsula. An unintended consequence is that North Korea's supply chain has become embedded in illicit Chinese procurement networks. While continuing to pressure China to enforce sanctions, the United States will have to use secondary sanctions on Chinese partners of North Korea if it hopes to stop North Korea's nuclear and missile parts procurement.
All right, so this expert on North Korea relations is suggesting that we're going to have to sanction Chinese entities. Now, not China as a whole, but China is pretty protective of their companies. And if we make a move as big as that, I don't see things going well. And I don't want to be a doomsayer or a naysayer. But I also don't want to see us head down the road to war with China or Russia. Because what I'm afraid of, and here's just your hosts, I'm no expert. I read the news just like the rest of you. I just think I read a little more news. I also read books and study UN resolutions in my spare time. Alright. The peninsula goes back to war. Does China jump back in to help North Korea like they did in the original Korean War? I don't know. Or does North Korea's new buddy in missile technology, Iran, step in? Oh yeah, they're a distance away. But remember, they're buying stuff from Russia. So I would put Iran, China, and Russia against US, South Korea, and Japan, and our allies. Now, one thing I can say for certain, if North Korea, God forbid, ever attacks the US, and I'm not talking US troops stationed in South Korea, although someone might be able to twist NATO to cover this. North Korea ever attacks US mainland, US territory, as in anything they can reach with a missile from a sub or somewhere, then we're going to pick up the phone and we're going to say, NATO, we've been attacked. get in the game. It will be the second time NATO will have ever been activated. Now, if we get in the game, if NATO gets in the game, does Russia grab its allies and say, nope, we gotta fight against you? Do they grab some beach chairs, sit down, and look from the sidelines? Does China get involved? These are the bigger implications. I can't even begin to stress how big these crazy missile launches are. How big the implications are. They are global. That's why I cover them, and I cover them fairly extensively. Alright, moving on to the Middle East, because I got a stack of Middle East news prep, and I got Stafford Boyce hot on my heels. A Daesh chlorine bomb expert was killed in Mosul under quote-unquote mysterious circumstances. The 44-year-old chlorine bomb expert and engineer known as Abu Yaha al-Iraqi was killed under quote-unquote mysterious circumstances near his residence in Mosul. The death of Abu Yaha al-Iraqi comes amidst internal revolt within the self-proclaimed Daesh, and in the run-up to an anticipated major assault on the remaining strongholds in West Mosul. The murder may be linked to the internal revolt, but it's also possible that foreign intelligence services who provided chemical weapons expertise to Daesh and other insurgents in the region are beginning to cover their bases and rid themselves of quote-unquote inconvenient witnesses who could be a liability. The so-called Abu Yaha al-Iraqi was killed near his residence in the Islah al-Zuri district. He is renowned for being the engineer of Go away, Mr. Frog. Your input on this show is not welcome. And his family allegedly disappeared before he was murdered. And this gentleman was renowned for being the engineer of Daesh's chlorine bombs, which have been widely used in war theaters in Iraq and Syria. So, as any regular listener to this show knows, Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, Iranian-backed militias, and more and the U.S.-backed coalition are currently involved in the fight against Daesh in western Mosul. So, interesting. Now, as much as I'd love to see Daesh wiped off the planet, we all have to realize Daesh will return. Because there'll be jihadi sleeper cells. There'll be surprise attacks. And this is rearing its ugly head already. Of course, Iraq made the big announcement, Eastern Mosul, we got it, we liberated it. But there are small attacks in districts that are near the eastern bank of the Tigris River, and security forces backed by local militia groups are still sweeping the city among rumors that Daesh sympathizers are moving between neighborhoods to avoid detection. One problem, of course, is the displaced people. We don't know where they're from, but they have moved into 3 houses on our street. And that's from one of the citizens. The night before coalition airstrikes targeted a boatload of Daesh fighters attempting to cross the river to infiltrate the neighborhood. So Daesh is attempting to sneak from West Mosul into East Mosul. And the local citizens don't think that the army is that serious about clearing the city. Small local militias patrol districts, gathering and they gather intelligence on Daesh sympathizers. When Iraqi security forces liberated the area, they checked the names against a database of suspects. But many residents believe that sympathizers have escaped detection. Okay? And fighters have discovered newly excavated, concealed holes in the yards of abandoned houses. So, and there's also been graffiti in East Mosul. Yes, East Mosul, threatening the return of Daesh. Got a couple more stories. I'm only going to get to a few of them before I got to make way for the Stafford voice. So, Turkey's President Erdogan has said that his forces will press on to Raqqa. And remember, they're right now in Al-Bab, working to free Al-Bab. And they want to establish a safe zone in and around Raqqa. I think that's a bold statement. Now, of course, remember your Syria Middle East scorecard. We already covered your Asia Pacific one. Let's talk Syria. Turkey is no friend of Bashar al-Assad. We have a Turkish military base. Assad is being propped up by Russia and Iran. So, and remember, Turkey hates the Kurds. They view all Kurds as terrorists. We view some Kurds as terrorists and others as good people. So it just gets more and more confusing. And the offer to participate in the battle for Raqqa is not new, but it's been revived among reports that Erdogan has ordered an overhaul of the plans to arm the Kurds to assault Raqqa. Of course, Turkey vehemently opposes the Pentagon's relationship with the Syrian Kurds. So, we support the YPG, which has ties to the PKK, which, of course, Kurdistan's Workers' Party has been designated a terrorist. The PKK has been designated a terrorist organization by both Washington and Ankara. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this play out. All right, last two stories. A police force in South Korea has faced criticism after using an iconic handprint of a Korean independence fighter on posters warning about terrorism. Posters were put up in a shopping center in Buyapang district of Incheon, a city just west of Seoul. They feature two hands with the words "Stop Terrorism" underneath, followed by a plea for the people to remain vigilant. But the handprint is that of An Jong-gwin, a Korean nationalist who in 1909 assassinated prominent Japanese statesman Hirobumi Ito. So basically it seems like they used the terrorist handprints to say, "Stop terrorism." Alright, let me see if I can I do have a good news story here. Let's see if I can pull it up. Alright, I'm out of time. Remember, you can always find me on Twitter at Jessie's POV. And you can always email me at the station at jessiespov@klrnradio.com. And on that note, folks, I'm out of here!